Hey, what is up, my friends? Today we're going to go into how to be a better speaker, how to get rid of all the nerves, how to feel good about what you're doing, and share your message with your audience. That's what we're going to get into, and I know a lot of people fear public speaking, but I'm going to help you get over those fears in today's episode. All right, what's up, my friends? Todd Falcone here. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be on the subject of speaking, becoming a better speaker. Here's the deal. If you're involved in network marketing, direct selling, you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, you're selling something, you're a business owner, there's a good chance you're going to speak. And what's crazy is, what's the phrase? People fear death oftentimes more than they fear public speaking more than they do death. Okay, I don't know if that's legit or not, but I would guess that it probably is, because I don't know, there's just a lot of people that just get super nervous at the idea of speaking in front of an audience. Okay, so here's the thing, like, you're very likely, even if you're like a mid-level leader making $5, $6, $7, $8 grand a month in network marketing, you're probably going to be asked to speak at a Super Saturday event, regional event. They may even ask you at your national conference to come up there and share your story. So it's better to be prepared and ready, knowing that may be coming. And I realize that some of you are like, hey man, I'm never going to be speaking in front of an audience. That's not me. Well, I said the same thing to myself. I could never visualize myself speaking in front of an audience when I first began my entrepreneurial journey. I was scared to death. In fact, the very first time I remember, I was in San Francisco, California, and I got invited to speak at this event. I'd never been on a platform before, and I mean, my heart was pounding. My mouth was dry as the desert. I was sweating in my palms. I was trembling. I mean, I was nervous. So I get the nerves. So I totally understand where some of you might be coming from, because the truth is, I was there. You don't see it today because I'm not there anymore. I don't fear being in front of an audience of thousands of people, 5,000, 10,000, doesn't matter what the audience size is. I'm not scared anymore. And I can get up there and deliver my message without fear. And I want to help you be able to do that as well. And by the way, really quickly, if you're really interested in becoming a better speaker, first of all, there's a resource on this page that I produced just actually last week, depending on when you're watching this, but literally last week I went in there and I produced a 3-part video series to help you produce better quality video. Like, for example, most of you are watching me on video right now, and I'll show you in this little free 3-part video series how to significantly improve the quality of whatever you do on video, whether it's Zooms, Lives, anything, and it doesn't really even cost you. It's not, you don't even need a budget to produce better video. So make sure you'll see it if you're at toddfalcone.com and you're watching this particular episode. Those details for that, how to instantly get access to those 3 videos are on my page. So if you're on my YouTube channel, you probably won't see it there. If you're on my podcast, it's only on audio. So you're going to want to hop over to this episode. By the way, this episode is toddfalcone.com/episode 258. That's this particular episode. That's where you'll find the details on that. So, all right, so let's get into in fact, before you do that, I'm going to say this. I'm going to, over the next several weeks, I'm going to do multiple posts on the subject of becoming a better speaker. Okay, so if you have a desire to improve your speaking skills and get more comfortable on the platform, which I just can't imagine why you wouldn't want to do that. A lot of times I think people are probably just telling themselves, because they're so scared, that, I don't ever want to do that. But deep down inside, they really do. Because I know that, because I've had literally thousands of people come up to me over the last 18 years of speaking and go, man, I want to do what you do. So I know that there's a large percentage of the audience that wants to get better, and I'm going to help you do that through these episodes, through that free 3-part video series that you can access on my site. And also, and this isn't official yet, but I'm doing a speakers academy with a really good friend of mine who's been a professional speaker for over 20 years, and he and I are going to do this thing together. It's going to be amazing. So that's definitely something you want to stay tuned into or tuned for if you are plugged into me. And obviously, if you're here, you're plugged into me. Whatever you want to, whatever it is, make sure you're plugged into my newsletter at toddfalcone.com. You can see it on the front page. You can get plugged in there. That way, when we announce the the Speaker Academy, you'll know first off. And I'll also say this: if you come to my page and you download this 3-part free video training series that's on this post, you will be on the short list for getting information for that Speakers Academy as soon as we announce it, which is going to be shortly. So, all right. So I'm going to cover in today's episode 3 different things. Okay, I'm not going to go into like everything that you need to know about being a speaker. That would be way too long of a single post. But today we're going to go into one single thing and it's going to help you conquer fears. Okay. This is going to help you conquer your fears related specifically to speaking. So, all right, number 1 is understanding the value of the message that you're bringing into the marketplace. So you have whatever your message is. Like, for example, my primary message is teaching people how to succeed in network marketing. How to create an income in the network marketing and direct selling space, how to actually make it work. I'm speaking about that from personal experience. I've been in network marketing now for 35 years, and it's been my full-time career really pretty much the entire time, except when I had after my first 2 years of doing network marketing, I didn't do well the first couple years and ended up helping my family's business out, selling advertising, and that's actually how I met my wife. So it's a beautiful thing taking a quick break out of network marketing because I met this lovely lady that I've been with for the last 30 plus years. So, all right, so when you sit down, and it does require you sitting down and kind of like either journaling or thinking about it, is writing down like the value of the message. Like I know that if I have an audience, I'm just going to speak from my perspective, and then whatever you're speaking about, you can adapt it. So if I'm talking about or thinking in my mind the value of the message that I'm bringing to the market is like, okay, who's my audience? Well, my audience are people that are involved in network marketing, direct selling, at-home entrepreneurs, and they're also those individuals that are looking for answers. They're looking for understanding. They're looking for skills. They're looking for things that are going to help them navigate the journey of becoming successful in network marketing. And so me understanding the purpose of my message that, hey, I've got something to say, and there's an audience of people that are hungry, that are starving for what it is that I have to say, that in and of itself is going to kind of, just let the shoulders relax a little bit, kind of get rid of the nerves a little bit, because then I understand, okay, there's real value in the message that I'm bringing into the marketplace. So when it's like nobody comes to hear a speaker that has nothing to say, right? They come because the speaker has something to say, and they want to hear what that speaker has to say. So if you got nothing to say, and don't for a second, by the way, don't think for a second that you don't have something to say. Everybody has expertise in something. Maybe you're an incredible parent, okay? Maybe you are an incredible fisher person, okay? Maybe you are amazing at woodworking. Maybe you're amazing at playing the guitar. Maybe, whatever it is, like we all have our areas of expertise. Maybe whatever it is. And it doesn't even mean that you have to be an expert in something to speak on something, but about that thing that it is that you're about to speak on. So, like if somebody asked me, hey Todd, can you speak on the subject of chemical engineering? I would be like, no, man, I'm not, absolutely not. It's not my cup of tea. Okay. Find somebody else. But if somebody said, hey, can you talk about network marketing? Absolutely. Hey, can you talk about steelhead fishing? I could do a 2-hour seminar on steelhead fishing. Somebody said, hey, can you talk about skiing? I'm like, yeah, I could talk all day about skiing and techniques and blah, blah, blah. I could go, because these are areas of expertise for me. So the other part of that is you would very likely be speaking about things you know something about. Again, think about something like I don't know anything about chemical engineering, so I would never speak on the subject of chemical engineering. So understanding the value of the message that you bring to the table is going to make it so much easier for you in knowing that you can go out there and speak in confidence about whatever subject matter it is that you're thinking in your mind that you want to bring to the table. And the second part of this is using a visualization technique, okay? Like thinking about and visualizing how this audience is going to feel once they've received your message, and something like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, this speaker spoke to me, and now I know that. Now I understand that. And what they're going to be able to then do with the content that they've given you. And knowing that, wow, I'm making an impact. Like even a few days ago, I stumbled across something on Facebook, and I saw this video. It's a friend of mine who's a pretty tech savvy guy, and he was doing some pretty cool stuff with AI. And I watched and listened to this thing that I randomly stumbled across. I went in there. I took notes on this little, it was like a 1 hour Facebook Live that he did. Took notes on it. And I immediately implemented like 2 of the items that he talked about. So I haven't called him and said, hey, bro, I watched that thing and that was awesome, and I acted upon it. But he knows for a fact that there are people that are going to see that live that he did, and they didn't know before what that was or even how to go about doing it. And he taught exactly how to do it. So I literally right after it was done, I went in there and I did it, and I was like, cool, it does work. So, and it was something I didn't know anything about. So when you do this, right, again, when you get down with the purpose and really understand the value of what you're bringing to the table, that's going to make your shoulders relax a little bit, guys. It's going to help you chill out a little bit and know I've got something to offer. And then when you visualize the end result that this audience is going to have when they hear your message, that's going to make it easier for you to take that next step, that next leap forward. Okay, real quickly, like fly fishing, or let me go to steelhead fishing for a second. If you didn't know anything about steelhead fishing, and I'm like, hey, bro, I'll sit here, I'll teach you, no worries. I'll show you how to tie the leaders. I'll show you how to, the angle that we cast at, where to cast. And I've done this a lot of times. I have a river jet sled. I do a lot of steelhead fishing, and I've taught a lot of people how to steelhead fish that didn't know anything about steelhead fishing. Okay, where how to put the bait on, where to cast, how to know when it's a rock versus a fish, all those things. And those people at the end of the day, they had fish in the boat, and they were pretty stoked that they went from I didn't know anything about steelhead fishing to Todd put me on a fish and I caught the first steelhead of my life. So again, that makes even sharing that makes me feel good, right? So again, these are some things that will help you step in, help you lean in to becoming a better speaker. Number two is practice in safe settings first, okay? Practice in safe settings first. And in fact, the fact that I flubbed my words there is perfect. What did I say? Practice. Anyhow, sometimes what happens is you're speaking and the word comes out wrong. And I could go back and, I screwed it up. I don't ever like to do perfect video. In fact, 99% of the videos that I ever produce, I never even do a second take. I want you to know that sometimes people screw up. I've messed up my words in front of 5,000 people, in front of 10,000 people. Okay, no problem. I can just go back and say, well, wait a second, that didn't come out right. Let me say that again, and that's okay. People want to know that you're real. But if you want to get through the nerves, get through the fears, I would never throw you on the platform in front of 2,000 people the very first time that you spoke. But what I would do is go, hey man, let's get you in front of this in-home meeting. I know there's probably a lot of in-home. Well, COVID kind of ruined the in-homes, But you're still in front of an audience. I mean, you could be sitting in a small group meeting in some local restaurant and you're doing a presentation for 2 or 3 people. Or you're in your house and you're presenting your business for 2 or 3 people. You're telling a story in front of 2 or 3 or 5 people. That smaller audience is what I call a safer audience. It's smaller. You're not being exposed to thousands of eyeballs looking at you. And it just, it feels more comfortable, okay, period. I mean, think about it. Okay, if you're going to be put on the platform, would you prefer the first time to be put on the platform in front of 10,000 people in a completely sold out auditorium, or 5 people? 5 of your trusted bros, your friends. Well, I'm going to do it in front of my friends because that doesn't seem so daunting. Of course, it's easier. But again, that would be a good starting point. If you want to be a better speaker, might be a good idea to go, okay, cool, I'm going to get in front of a smaller audience here, and I'm going to begin to actually do it, because you can't get good at the thing that you never do. Some of you guys have heard me say that. I've said it many times. You cannot get good at the thing that you never do. So if you want to be a better speaker, you have to speak. And you got to volunteer yourself to get in front of an audience, wherever that is, and take those opportunities, wherever they may be, and take advantage of them and step into it. And that little repetition, that practice, is going to help you feel more comfortable. So then when you get the phone call from the director of sales at your network marketing company and go, hey, we got our national conference coming up and you're doing a pretty decent job, man. You're doing a great job. In fact, we want to have you speak in front of our group. We're going to give you 10 minutes, on Saturday at the national conference to share your story. And you'll be like, cool, I'm ready. And not like, oh my gosh, I'm sick, man. Wait, the conference isn't until November, man. Oh, but I'm sick. I think I'll be sick in November. You don't want to be pulling that, okay? So that's the first part of that, this whole idea of smaller settings. The other thing about smaller settings is you can create a feedback loop, okay? Feedback loop is just like it sounds, getting feedback on what you did. Like, hey, how'd I do, man? Give me some feedback. Tell it to me straight. Did I do good? Areas for improvement. And look, I have had many speakers come to me and ask me for feedback, okay? And I'm happy to give it, and I'm real with people. Look, here's the thing. I'll give you a little confidence booster. I've never had somebody come up to me and go, Todd, how did I do? And they blew it so bad that I was like, man, it was terrible. Everything you said was awful. You didn't. No. The other part of that is most people that speak and they think that they blew it or wasn't good, they get off the platform. I'm like, they were like, I was so nervous. I'm like, you crushed it up there. Like, nobody knows you're nervous. I couldn't tell you were nervous. You killed it up there. Really? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm just telling you, you did an exceptional job. Now, I'll give you a quick example, like in terms of the feedback loop, because the feedback loop can help you make improvements, okay? There's a couple elements to the feedback loop. One of them is asking for feedback. So I was backstage in the green room at this big event, and this couple was getting ready to go up on the platform, and they were nervous. They were like pacing around. I was like, hey, how you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're super scared. We're nervous. I'm like, well, what are you nervous about? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then, oh, we're talking about this. I'm like, are you any good at that? They're like, oh yeah, that's our sweet spot. I'm like, cool. If you're talking about your sweet spot, just talk about what it is that you do and how you do it. You talk about it all the time, don't you? And they're like, yeah. We'll just get up there and do what you do. They're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So when they got done, it was a couple that were up there and they were kind of bouncing off of one another, which is cool. They come back and they were like done. They're like, oh, geez, I was trembling up there. I'm like, I didn't see you trembling. They're like, how do we do? I'm like, you killed it. You absolutely smashed it. Really? I'm like, you smashed it. Like, you gave great value. Both of you guys were hilarious, bouncing off of one another. That's just obviously a couple that's natural and feels comfortable with one another. You guys flat smashed it up there. Like the audience loved it. Did you hear the round of applause when you got done? They loved it. And they're like, hey, is there anything that you would suggest? We want to, because they're looking at me as a professional speaker because I've done it for so long, which I am, and they're asking me, and so I'm happy to give them feedback. And I'm like, okay, look, there's only 2 things that I would suggest that you do differently. Number one, the audience doesn't know that you're nervous. So you don't need to say, I'm nervous. Oh, we're so nervous. I'm so nervous. You don't need to say that you're nervous. In fact, even today, this is what I do. Look, sometimes your mouth gets dry. That happens. That just happens for nerves or other reasons. And the challenge with being on a platform and you get nervous and your mouth gets dry, it comes across as this clickiness on the microphone. You could just grab something and go, okay, I'm going to take a sip. So keeping water up on the platform is a good idea. Keep water up on the platform. You don't have to say, I'm so nervous, my mouth is so dry. They didn't do this, but they kept saying, we're nervous, we're nervous. Just take a sip of water. The audience, 99% of the time, they don't know you're nervous. So don't point them at your nervousness. And the only other thing I would say is, you guys had a countdown timer and you kept referring to the countdown timer. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey guys, I've only got 5 minutes left, so let's wrap this up and let me share with you let me recap the 3 points that we just shared with you, okay? But we're at 3 minutes, okay, we got 2 minutes, 18 seconds, we got 60 seconds, we got 19 seconds. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but I would just eliminate doing that in the future. And they're like, oh, okay, awesome, right? So you know the timer. The audience doesn't see the timer. They don't know what your time is. You see it, and you know that you got to be done in 2.5 minutes. Then just be done in 2.5 minutes, okay? So again, the feedback loop is super valuable. The second part of that is, like every event that I ever speak at, I get a copy of my presentation on video. So if I'm on a platform and, there are video cameras all over the room, I have in my contract, I'm like, hey, I want a copy of the presentation, because I use it to watch myself and look at things that I could do differently and improve upon. And I'm always doing that, because we always want to be, in this position, what the Japanese call it kaizen, constant and never-ending improvement. This idea that you constantly want to continue to get better, constant and never-ending improvement. So I have lots of room for growth, and I want to continue to grow. So the feedback loop is super powerful. And number 3, and I've kind of talked about this already, but embrace the mistakes and learn from the mistakes. Okay, so like I gave you an example of pointing out the fact that, I'm not to say I'm nervous, or pointing out the clock, the countdown timer. So, sometimes you might make other mistakes, and it's important that you embrace those mistakes. Like, for example, during the end of the last point I was just making with you, I was talking about the whole concept of getting, a copy of the video. Well, here's the thing. Sometimes, like when I'm up on the platform, something comes into my head, and I didn't even think about that story. Like the story I shared with you about that couple, I didn't know that I was going to share that in this video. It just came up in my thought as I was going along, and it was a perfect way to tell a story and make a point, okay? So sometimes, for example, you make a point, and the point lands low, or the way you said it, you could tell from the audience feedback that it didn't land as good as maybe you would have hoped it would have, okay? Or maybe it's a joke that you share, you layer some humor. If you've ever seen me speak, I mean, it's like half comedy show and full training. So, but the cool thing is, like, and people come to me all the time, and they're like, hey, you should be a stand-up comedian. I'm like, why? I mean, I just did it. But I don't have the pressure of having to make people laugh. They just get the benefit of, hey, they came here to learn, but Todd happens to be, pretty funny speaker when he's speaking. So cool, you got that benefit. But sometimes I've told stories, or I've kind of layered in some humor, and maybe the joke didn't fall as good as it could have. And so then I'm like, okay, well, how can I reword that or rephrase that or just delete it? Like, and some of you guys have heard me use the phrase, one of my definitions of success is repeat what works, delete what doesn't. So if you do something, then you do it again. And if you do it something and it's not good, then you don't do it again. Like I remember one time, I'll give you, and I did here right now, what I'm about to share with you, I had no idea I was going to say this, okay? So I remember I was at an event in Florida, I was speaking for about 800 people, and I was talking about the concept of working off of a script and practicing your script before you pick up the phone and call somebody. And I'm on stage, and I use this example, and I don't have a full body shot in this particular episode, so I'll make sure my hands are high enough. But I got up on the platform, and I was talking about, hey, look, if you're learning how to talk to people on the phone, for example, and you've been given a script, you want to make sure you practice the script, so you're not like, hi, my name is Todd Falcone, I'm calling you because your name was referred to me as, and I did this like stupid robot thing on the platform. And everybody was just rolling, and they were like laughing their face off. And I remember my host in the back of the room, she was like almost peeing her pants back there laughing. She's like, that was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen you do. And I was like, oh, check. I'll remember to do that. So again, that was not necessarily a mistake. But then there's other times where I've done things and making a point and then reiterating the point and then reiterating maybe too many times. Embrace the mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and that's going to put you in this mode of again, constant and never-ending improvement. So look, 3 very simple tips, you guys, on becoming a better speaker, getting rid of the nerves. Again, this last point for a second. If if you're getting good feedback and you're embracing the mistakes, right, and you're learning from the mistakes that you're making, wherever they might be, then the next time you get up, you're like, hey, I know I made that mistake, but I know I can do it better, and I've already planned on doing it better this next time. Then when you do it this next time, you already know it's gonna be different than the previous time where you're like, oh, that didn't land so well, and you've shifted it. And look, here's the other thing: it may not land perfect this time either. In fact, look, don't expect to ever be perfect when you're speaking. Don't ever expect to be perfect when you're speaking. Even again, if I were to go back and recap this like not unedited post that I'm doing for you guys, there's probably a half a dozen times where I've kind of flubbed up my words or said it a little bit differently than I intended on saying it, but I still got the message across, and that's okay. So here, again, I want you guys to be better speakers. You want to be a better speaker. There's no question about that. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be watching this, okay? You wouldn't be plugged into this. If you're on my YouTube channel, what's up, YouTubers? Appreciate you guys. If you're on my podcast, I love my podcast people. By the way, if you're a podcaster, give me a good review. If you like it, give me a good review. If you don't, then don't. But and the rest of the episode is here. By the way, the three videos, the three video series that I just produced on how to produce pro level video on a budget is on this post. You can't miss it, okay? So come over to toddfalcone.com/episode 258. That's TODDFALCONE.com/episode 258. And that's it for the day, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be doing some other posts on the subject of becoming a better speaker. And stay tuned for the boot camp that's coming up. It's going to be good. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.